Yeah, guys, welcome to my debate show. Thank you for if you're watching now or you're watching on playback or whatever. That's great. That's cool. I'm sorry this is obviously delayed a little bit and it's earlier than it normally is. It was going to be about 5 generally. It's generally on at 5 o'clock, but I've obviously got things to do later, so I can't make it that time now. So it's a lot earlier today. I'm supposed to be having one guest in here, and I apologise to him again. I know I can't see it. He's supposed to be on here, but he's not connected by the looks of it here. Obviously I'll see what's going on with him, but obviously we'll be going into this a big debate today. So there's a lot to talk about. Yeah. Anyway, looks like he is in here now. I've got a comment and I'll read that out first. Also, I put the link in here if anyone does want to join in the live chat or whatever. Obviously you can join with that. Use that link, and because I only really got one guest on, and this is very early today, earlier than it would have been. So that's probably why. Maybe people are at work or whatever, or doing other things. So, but anyway, I'll read this comment out. Rich Sports, yeah, big up, Rich. How you doing, man? Good, great to see you in here, bro. Yeah, hi, Mr. B. Not seen you for a while. Hope you're good. Yeah, I'm fine, mate. I'm cool. Yeah, everything's going well. But anyway, yeah, I better get on. We got a lot to discuss, and I'll bring my guest on to chat about it. And it's Manny again, Manny Fangadurai. He's in here and waiting patiently again as usual for me. But I'll bring him on now. Big up, Manny, my friend. How you doing?
Yeah, well, good, thank you. And, I'm happy to come on and be a part of this because obviously the time works out quite well for me. And, obviously we do have quite a bit to talk about, especially, I'm sure you have a lot to say about both of the games that were played over the weekend. I don't want to be specific and spoil everything, but it was one heck of a weekend, I tell you. Whether or not you enjoyed the beautiful game, you've got to accept that there were a lot of controversies, a lot of unforgettable moments, and it'll be interesting to see what you think of them as far as I'm concerned.
No one from Richie. Big up, Manny. Rich Sports.
Richie, big up to you, mate. Been a long time.
Yeah. Always welcome in here. A great channel he's got. Great content on there. He's doing one tonight, I believe. I think it's about 10:15 podcast. So might try and look at that, watch that. I don't know if I can go on it. I don't know. I'll ask him. But yeah, it could be good. Anyway, yeah, let's get back to this. As Scott here, 2 different FA Cup semis. City 1-0 Chelsea. Why wasn't it the spectacle we thought it would be? Because it wasn't. It was boring, I thought. Coventry 3, United 3, 4-2 United on penalties. Were United bad or did Coventry just play out of their skins? So there's 2 things to discuss there, Manny. I will obviously bring some web pages up in a minute. I'll just reading these comments again. 7 p.m. Oh, is that your stream at 7? I don't know. Oh, the 10:15 is next week. Oh, so it's 7 p.m. tonight, 10:15 next week. Right. Okay, mate. That's even better for me, actually, if it's 7. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so I'll bring these pages up, Manny, and we can go into this a lot more. Obviously, I'll do the Man City one first, as it was the first game. The worst game, in my opinion. Not as much happened. But obviously, I'll bring this one up. Which one? Because I've got a couple of things here. I'll just go to that one first. It's just coming up very soon. Apologies, guys. It's coming up. Here we go. So, Pep Fury. This is what he's talking. Obviously, all these misses from Mr. Jackson, as we know. 2 of the 3 sitters from Jacko go amiss, and it really was a bad day for him. But anyway, Man City 1, Chelsea 0, as we know. Bernardo Silva's late strike secures City's spot in FA Cup final. So City reach another FA Cup final after a boring 1-0 win. Sorry, I added that. It's not actually on this page here, but I've added it. Bernardo Silva fires City in front with 7 minutes left. No Haaland in Man City squad. So Man City were beaten 1-0. Man City beat Chelsea 1-0, I should say. Well, what am I talking about? Bernardo Silva was a difference maker at Wembley after his 83rd minute strike, put City's spot in this year's final. Pep Guardiola's side are still eyeing a double this campaign, with the Manchester outfit in pole position for the Premier League title, and are now 1 win away from back-to-back FA Cup triumphs. These were obviously the starting lineups: Ortega, Moreno, Walker, Stones, Akanji, Ake, Rodri, De Bruyne, Bernardo, Foden, Grealish and Alvarez for City. And for Chelsea, Petrovic, Gusto, Chalobah, Silva, Cucurella, Caicedo, Fernandes, Madueke, Palmer, Gallagher and Jackson. They both seemed really good teams to start with, good lineups, I thought, for this. I thought we was going to get better than it was. Really did expect more from this, Manny. I don't know about you, but I thought it would have been a better game.
Yeah, sometimes you've got to understand that when teams do have a lot at stake, the last thing that you'd expect, Steve, is a really open game. Yeah. Obviously, Chelsea were not really going to allow themselves to open up too much and allow City to come at them. And City and Chelsea themselves were trying their best to create whatever chances they could. And you mentioned it, Jackson missed more than a few. So I think it was short of quality for the most part, and definitely a case of, teams trying to be cagey, not trying to give each other too much of an opportunity. And let's not forget that without Haaland in the team, you could sense that City's attack lacked a little bit of bite in a way, because when you make your attack, when you revolve your attack around the big Norwegian, obviously there's so much more to his game than simply being able to find the net. He also is the he's the perfect number 9, really. Sort of does a great deal more work than people often give him credit for. Yeah. Without him, you could just sense that City looks a little bit toothless in some respects, and also Chelsea, given that the FA Cup was all that they had for which to play, there was no way that they wanted to, allow City to be too open, allow City to get at them. And as it was, it took a fairly late goal to settle the tie.
Yeah. I'll just read through this one bit, Manny, and obviously it's what Pep said here. He wasn't happy again, as usual. I don't know why, but he's winning stuff and getting through to the final and things like that. But there you go. He's still not happy. Anyway, Pep Guardiola was livid in his post-match words to the BBC, slamming the decision for his team to play today. He pointed to the Coventry versus Man United game tomorrow, where neither side played in midweek. Neither did Chelsea. Here we go again. Sour grapes. He ranted to the BBC panel, "It's unacceptable to let us play today. It's impossible for the health of the players. It's not normal. It's unacceptable. 120 minutes, the emotions of Madrid, the way we lose. Honestly, I know this country is special with the FA Cup, but it's for the health of the players. I don't understand how we survived today. Do you think that demanding will change something? The only power I have to say here, why don't we play tomorrow? Chelsea, Man United, Coventry didn't play midweek. I thought a lot. I remember like 2 seasons ago we had Dortmund on Wednesday and Liverpool on Saturday in the FA Cup semi. They were 3-0 up at half time. They destroyed us. Mentally so tough to recover. Rodri, the way he played today. Carl, who was injured for a few weeks. I don't understand how they survived. We want to play football. We love to play football, but it's too much. We defend our trophy. We'll be here. Why is this guy moaning so much, Manny?
You saw what I was doing
Why?
there, didn't you? I was making these little gestures to show how he was
I didn't
crying
see,
and having
mate.
a fit.
I was on, yeah.
Now, you watch it on playback, you'll see everything.
Yeah, I will, yeah.
For Pete's sake.
Yeah, but why does he moan so much, mate? He's got a big, massive squad of loads of players. And, you know, they're footballers. They have to play week in, week out. It's their job. They're fit enough to do it. You know, they train week in, week out and whatever. So why is he moaning?
Attention seeking for the most part. I mean, maybe he wants to try to get some sympathy for the fact that his double treble dream is now over after what Bellingham and company did to him. Yeah. I swear. There's actually a link to the Tony, big up to you both, to you as well. Tony. Thank you. There's a link to the Villa Bournemouth game. You take a look at Aston Villa. They also went through penalties in their game, and they had to come through a huge hurdle. And of course, as was expected, they ended up playing on a Sunday. Now, normally, whenever you play in Europe in midweek on a Wednesday, you are scheduled to play on a Saturday. So there can't be any complaints. It's absolutely ridiculous. In any case, you know, City won, so I don't know why he'd complain. But when Villa played Bournemouth, I was expecting that Emery would make a few changes to his squad, maybe replace Emi Martinez with Robin Olsen so that he could get some game time before he starts the first leg of their Conference League semi-final against Olympiacos at Villa Park. And then maybe try and bring a few players in off the bench, the likes of Longley and Chambers, maybe. But he still managed to field something resembling a full-strength team. It wasn't quite full strength because Douglas Luiz was still suspended. But after a slow start where Bournemouth got at them, they recovered magnificently and went on to win. So Emery had no complaints about it. Why is Guardiola crying like a baby?
Yeah,
mate, it's nothing more than a case of attention seeking more than anything else.
Exactly, he's 100%, Manny. Yep,
he's a big baby.
Crying over it all, moaning, whinging like a little girl, as far as I'm concerned. Because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, look at his team. He's got the embarrassment of riches of players, you know. A massive squad to choose from of players. And some of us haven't got that. Our smaller teams, like us, we haven't got those options off the bench or anything else. You know, and, you know, it's because, you know, he's got so many good players. And now he's whinging about it. I mean, you know, you can't have it both ways. You just can't have it both ways. And, you know, we big them up. We big up these teams, great teams, when they play well. And then when they start moaning, then why should we have sympathy with them as well? Why? Because they got all the big players, all the money. They can get the big team, big squads. And a lot of us have to struggle, have to, you know, go with what we got. And we had to do that all season, nearly, at most of the season. The Bees. We didn't have Tony. We didn't have Summit as well. Players like that. And who we got to call on? We haven't got a Haaland. We haven't got a Foden to come off the bench, or Bernardo Silva or De Bruyne to come off the bench, you know. This guy needs to look at himself, as far as I'm concerned. He really needs to, because he's mad. He's meant, you know. I'm not going to go. I'll say stronger words than this, but I can't. I'm not going to do it on here. But I just think he's just, you know, he doesn't realise how good he's got it with them. He really does, and maybe, as you say, it's attention seeking as well. It might be that, I guess. But
exactly.
Yeah, I've got a few more comments here. Jamie Wooten, hi up, pal, a Sheffield United fan. Yeah, big up, mate. Yeah, I think I've seen him on. I think he's got his own channel, hasn't he? Somewhere. Sure, I've seen him on his own channel. Yeah, and hey, Kyle. Got Kyle in here. Volcano. Yeah, big up, legends. Yeah. Yeah, you're a legend yourself, mate. Definitely. The old volcano. When's it erupting again? Was it? I think it erupted probably, was it last week, wasn't it? When you done one, you done another video, didn't you? Another stream.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably erupted twice over the last few days with the losses to Aston Villa and Bayern Munich. I only hope it won't erupt tonight because we've got Chelsea later on. But boy, oh boy.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule them out though. I wouldn't underestimate Chelsea at all, man. They could easily come back now from that. I mean, okay, you'd think they'd be on their knees that went out of the FA Cup final and the semi, but I'm sure they want to come back even better and stronger and try and win tonight. Try and get them further up the table. So, don't expect an easy match tonight because I don't think you'll get it. So, yeah, and obviously Doug's in here as well. Yeah, be up, Doug. How you doing, mate? City, crime or Pep? Pep is cracking up. What a shame. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, agree with you, mate. Yeah, big up the Dugout Football Channel. Hope you're well. I suppose that's so.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah. I don't know if he's doing any shows tonight. I don't know. I know he has been doing them. Come back again. Generally watch his shows. Very great channel as well. Another brilliant channel. Carl Walsh again. Manny Facts, bro. I hope to see you tonight on Del Boy show if he's doing one, mate.
Yeah, I hope he is too. But Kyle, the thing is that sometimes it may depend. Maybe Kyle might be a bit too busy, and if he isn't able to do it, then he might possibly ask me to do it for him, or he might decide not to do one at all. It'll be interesting to see what the mood will be at the end of the game. But yeah,
he's going to Desmond tonight in Desmond.
Yeah.
Yeah, Desmond Tutu, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, should be a good game, I reckon. I hope anyway, for the neutrals out here that want to watch a good game of football. I hope I'd like to see plenty of goals. I know you might not do, or Chelsea might not want to see a load of goals against them, but I'd like to see a 3-2 or something like that, but might not happen. Anyway, getting back to this, obviously, get back to the subject in hand. Yeah, match report. Well, 0-0. Bernardo Silva roared, "Make mine a dub instead," with a late winner for jaded Man City. Jaded, yeah, okay. Silva's embarrassing penalty had set City on the road to the agonising Champions League defeat on spot kicks by Real Madrid that ended. That was a terrible penalty. Absolutely dreadful penalty that was. By Real Madrid ended their dreams of back-to-back trebles. The Portugal international put himself on the road to redemption by delivering the decisive moment for Pep Guardiola's ragged-looking team. Well, they got this in their minds that they're jaded and a ragged-looking team when they shouldn't be, really. Despite looking physically and emotionally drained by their midweek exertions, City found a way to win and may well lift the Premier League trophy again before being back here next month for the final. Chelsea suffered yet more Wembley agony after losing the Carabao Cup final to Liverpool in February in the dying minutes of extra time. That makes it 10 defeats in their last 13 since the reopening of the National Stadium. Oh dear. You got a feel for Chelsea, I suppose, haven't you, Manny?
To an extent, I do. And the reason why I say to an extent, obviously, is because this season they haven't exactly been in the best of form. They've shown glimpses of how well they could play if, they have the right formation, the right lineup, and so forth. The only problem is, I remember saying this on Nippon Sharma's podcast last night. Shout out to him, NS Sports TV, of course.
Yeah.
He and I did the podcast while he was on location at King's Cross Station. That boy gets around, you see.
Yeah, he does, yeah. I used to watch his shows, channel and that. I don't go on there as much now. I'll have to try and look at that, try and catch that and check that one out. Video, obviously, with you and him on there. So, yeah, it should be a good one.
It will be good, I promise you. But, I did say that Chelsea are a very disjointed team. They do have a lot of talented individuals, but I just don't know. For some reason, they're just not able to really blend together. And, this is probably the time when a smart coach would think of playing their team around their best and most consistent player. And I think they've chosen to play around Gallagher. It could very well be now that Cole Palmer assumes that role because of his own proven abilities and the fact that he actually wanted to leave City some seasons before he actually left. And now he's playing with Chelsea and doing well. The only problem is, would he want to stay there for too long if they're not winning silverware? I had Chelsea down to shock Manchester City and knock them out of the competition, but I just think that, they just their lack of quality in the final third after creating those chances really hurt them in a way.
Yeah. It says Man City now 29 games unbeaten in all competitions. So, moan about that, Pep. No, the midweek penalty shootout loss doesn't count. They drew the game itself. 23 wins and 6 draws makes it the longest unbeaten run in the club's history. Yeah, they can still moan. The numbers behind the game with not too much happening in front of goal. City's 3 shots on target, all coming in the second half. 5 shots on target, Chelsea, to City's 3. Out of 14 shots for City and 10 for Chelsea. City had 6 shots blocked and Chelsea had 2. City 62% possession, which you always think they would have more possession anyway, City. To Chelsea's 38% passes and completed passes, whatever. Usual. I don't think stats matter a lot to me. I don't know about to you, Manny. I don't think much of these stats. What really matters is when the ball goes in the net, isn't it? And who wins the game. That's the thing at the end of the day. You could say as much as you want. Who did what? Who done this? Who done that? Who passed a lot? Who had most possession? Who had this and that? But at the end of the day, it's the team that won, that scored the goal and won it, took their chances. That's what it matters to me. Yeah, wasteful Chelsea, yeah. As mentioned before, Chelsea's undoing was in front of goal and their lack of a competent striker. Nicholas Jackson had 3 unbelievable chances with a score at 0-0 and fluffed every single one of them. Yeah, City looked tired, jaded and out of ideas, and Chelsea still stuttered and couldn't get past. Yeah. What do you think of that? Those 3 chances, gilt-edged chances, really.
Well, I didn't quite see them because I think I was out the whole day and I was really focusing my energies on the Wolves-Arsenal game. But you get an idea now. You get an idea now, Mr. B, why that match was not really, the more memorable one, because you saw a tired City team. You saw a tired City team. And you saw a Chelsea team that were. You better got my teeth in, or maybe the cat got my tongue. I don't know. And then you had a Chelsea team that just weren't quite able to take advantage of their chances. So the end result was a match lacking in any real quality, or at least on a more consistent basis. But, when you got the FA Cup on the line, obviously Chelsea are going to look at themselves and those chances and think, you know what, we didn't deserve to go through. Just as with Liverpool if they end up losing the league, they're going to look at the beginning of, I think it was this month or the last month, and talk about their squad selections, and then see that it was the coaches that really let them down. Coach and assistant coach.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Bernardo Silva goes from Champions League hero to FA Cup hero as Man City reached another FA Cup final. Silva's stupid penalty, you could say that, it was the catalyst to City losing out to Real Madrid in midweek. But you can't say it's all his fault. Surely it's not all his fault. Shouldn't they have won it? Shouldn't they have done better to win the game rather than go to penalties anyway? How can you say it's all his fault at the end of the day? I hate that, bashing one player. Okay, it was a bad penalty. It was a terrible penalty, but then other players have done that. They missed worse penalties. I mean, I don't know if you ever see that Gary Lineker one I think it was against, where was it? Was it Brazil or somebody? I think it was at Wembley when he tried to do the Panenka and got it all wrong, got it totally wrong. And it ended up dribbling straight to the goalie along the floor. If you remember that one.
I vaguely do, yes.
These big players have missed ones in their time. They've all missed ones, all missed big penalties at times. The best players do it. Whether you can say Gary Lineker was one of the best players, I suppose you could. He got a load of goals for England. You could say he was the penalty area merchant, tapping merchant most of the time, but he did get the goals. But anyway, he's more known now for being obviously a pundit or a host of and speaking his mind, speaking out too much most of the time, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, and in truth, he was anonymous for 82 minutes here too, as well. But he pops up with 7 minutes left to smash City into the showpiece at the end of the season. Well, that's true, He's got them through at least, so you can say that. Not a great game, but you get to the final, what can you say? You're there to win it. So, Man City have got a great chance, but I wouldn't rule out United. They're so jammy. But, 98th minute, absolutely dreadful from Mudryk. Not entirely sure why he was allowed to take it, but he overhits it by miles and it drifts away for a goal kick. A terrible, terrible waste, and that might just do it. Shame, really. But, yeah, I think enough about that one, Manny. I just think it wasn't the greatest of semis, and I wasted my time watching it, I think, in a way. But we'll get on to the best one that I think was an amazing semi, and so unlucky for Coventry. I really felt for them. So we get on to that. It's a bit slow. Sorry, Manny, but a bit slow today. It's bloody Wi-Fi. Pardon me. Trying to get to it here. It's just taking its time. It's worse than a bloody snail. I've got plenty to talk about for this one as well. So, come on. It's taking forever, man. I'll try and get rid of a few pages here. I think it's because I've got so many pages on. It's taking a long time. This probably isn't the one I wanted. No, it's not. Bloody thing. Sorry about this, guys. Taking forever. Yeah, I'll go through this one. I think it's on here, isn't it? Come on. Where's that page? I'm sorry about this, Manny, and other people at home watching it. I'm sorry about this. Fucking useless. It's taking forever. Well, I'll go into this though. That obviously they're saying that it was fixed with that VAR decision. You know, the offside with Haji Wright. VAR, you sure? Fans claim FA Cup semi-final was fixed as they spot issue with VAR review that ruled out Coventry goal versus Man United. Coventry boss Mark Robbins has spoken out about the huge late call. Football fans have accused Sunday's FA Cup semi-final of being fixed after spotting what they believe is a major VAR blunder. Some think there was an error in the decision to disallow Coventry's last-minute extra-time goal against Man United. This was the offside that saw Coventry's dramatic late goal disallowed and was a real shame. I was going all the way for Coventry here to get through, and I thought it was really tight as well, and to be given disallowed, you know, offside. It was real touch and go, I thought. But it's a real shame. I really thought Coventry were getting through there. Obviously, this was in extra time. Fans have claimed the line goes through Aaron Wan-Bissaka's foot. And there it is there. Closer up. Zoomed in. It looks like it might have done. Go through his foot there. Coventry's Haji Wright was ruled offside following this VAR review. Is this another one VAR have got wrong here, Manny, would you say? Have they totally cocked this up?
Yet again. Or,
no, VAR. This was the offside. Do you know disallowed goal for Coventry?
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah. Yeah, listen, I've actually seen that quite a few times. And, you know, as heartbreaking as it would be to say this, I think when you take a look at the replays of that particular incident, Steve, you can see that Haji Wright. Yeah, if you take a look at that that photograph, you could see that although marginally, Haji was not in the right place at that right time. And so according to the letter of the law, they had to chalk it off. I remember watching that particular game and thinking to myself on the highlights, you know what, Haji had taken maybe a small step forward. There's a part of me that thinks that maybe if they score, this could get disallowed. I'll tell you what, though, Coventry City were great value for the plaudits they received. When I tuned into the game, I think I just finished watching the Aston Villa-Barcelona game, and we will be discussing that on the cherry picking show with my good friend Craig Beasley, Art the Cherries in All Departments. Right. So we will talk about these semi-finals as well. And when I tuned in, Coventry were 3-1 down, but then Callum O'Hare was able to score a hugely deflected goal. And then it was Haji Wright who, I don't remember it was right. No, it was a sort of a controversial handball against Wan-Bissaka in the box, and then Wright stepped up to take the penalty, and they went into extra time. And I do get, obviously, the raw emotion of it all, because Coventry reaching the FA Cup final, Steve, would have been an absolute shot in the arm for them as a club. You know, in addition to the money they would have received, I do believe that with City in position to at least qualify for the Champions League, if not win the title, I do believe that under those circumstances, Coventry would have ended up gaining European football and heading into the group stages of the Europa League. So just think of how wonderful that would have been for Coventry, 12 months or so on from the heartbreak of losing the Championship playoff final to Luton Town. It is really sad and it is unfortunate, but I guess you have to sort of consider the letter of the law, and nobody will have any complaints if the law were employed fairly. I've seen a lot of mean-spirited United fans, rather, who have had the gall to say, if Coventry is still going to be mad about the offside goal, which could have sent them to the final only for the officials to deem otherwise, then Coventry should have no complaints really, because that was never a handball according to them from Wan-Bissaka, and then there was a deflected goal. Now that Wan-Bissaka penalty, his hand was closer to his body, but he was in the way of the shot. So that could also have been considered an attempt to impede a goal-scoring opportunity in a way. So I can definitely understand why the referee felt inclined to give that as a penalty. And, extra time was ebbing and flowing. Coventry were looking really good. In the second half, I thought they were going to tire and maybe hold up for penalties, but then some from out of nowhere, they got a second wind. I believe they hit the post as well before that goal from Victor Torp. It would have been wonderful. Yeah, Torp would have ended up a victor, and after torpedoing Manchester United, the headlines would have written themselves, you see, and it would have been so wonderful. But according to the letter of the law, I think I took a look back on the replay without even seeing the decision, seeing the picture, and I was saying to myself, you know what? It does look as though Haji Wright might be a little bit offside. So it is heartbreaking and unfortunate. Penalties are always a cruel way to exit a tournament. It's draining, but also exhilarating if you win. But if you lose a penalty shootout, it is absolutely gutting. And your heart goes out to Callum O'Hare and Ben Sheaf, who pretty much did the Stuart Pearce, Chris Waddle double act. Pearce had his penalty saved, and Waddle blasted over the bar. That's exactly what happened to O'Hare and Sheaf. And Casemiro was lazily trying a Panenka, but failed miserably. At least in his case, his missed penalty didn't go on to cost United that game. So you've asked a couple of questions. Bear in mind that given that United worked their way to a 3-0 lead and were, for the most part, really looking to, coast their way through, they were really good until then. But after Coventry scored, they just started to become complacent and they capitulated. And from the time they were getting back into it, the Sky Blues were absolutely magnificent. For them, the sky wasn't even the limit. And it was just, these are the types of things, Steve, for which you really want to watch the FA Cup. And I'm sure a lot of people would have wanted to see Coventry do well to show that the smaller teams do have a place in the cup, and the smaller teams will need more and more replays. Personally, I think the decision to get rid of the replays is a horrible idea. It's a question of, pandering to the bigger clubs. It's the responsibility of the bigger clubs to make sure they have big enough squads to help them compete in all these tournaments. Excuse me.
Yeah, save that for later, Manny, because I've got that as one of the topics on here about the scrapping of the FA Cup.
I will. Thank you for that. I'm really sorry for having mentioned it.
No, it's all right. It's all right, mate. No worries. That's cool.
And we've also had some other people saying, it's probably just as well that Coventry went out, because nobody would have wanted to see them make the final, only to be swamped by a number of goals, just like Watford were back in the day. But who's to say that Coventry wouldn't have done a Wigan and beaten Manchester City in that final?
Yeah, it's possible.
And that's the thing. Because I'll tell you one thing, Steve. The complacency that United showed, they were, lazy and lackadaisical. They never had the seriousness of really being able to try to close it out. And I can see Manchester City ripping United apart at Wembley. Of course, I can't see it because I think I mentioned in the group chat that I'm actually going to boycott watching the final because of the way things. Yeah. I mean, it's bad enough that, Coventry lost in that manner. But for the likes of Anthony and Bruno Fernandes to behave the way they did, cupping their ears at the Coventry players without showing any kind of sportsmanship towards them, it was absolutely disgusting. Big up to Harry Maguire. Yeah. He might no longer be captaining Manchester United, but he certainly showed the way a captain should behave. And that is how you do it. And, we go back and forth on this, Steve. Sometimes, you can hiss and snarl at players. As a cricket fan, we have sledging every now and then. I'm sure you might, where people try to get in each other's heads. And there have been some good sledges over the years. You might remember Rodney Marsh and Ian Botham. Swampy asked Beatty as he was coming to the crease, "So how's your wife and my kids?" And then Beatty replied saying, "The wife's fine, but your kids are a little bit crazy." He used a different word, but I didn't want to he used a different word, but I didn't want to repeat that word, obviously. So sometimes you try and get into the opposition. It is a battle in many ways, but once the battle ends, you display sportsmanship and grace and magnanimity. You do not rub it into the players' faces like that. And
especially when they played so well, Coventry, I thought they were amazing. What a team! From 3-0 down, what a comeback! Yeah, you see these comebacks in these matches, and before, it's like Jason and Goliath, and Jason nearly come out on top here, and I think they could have done. I really do. I really thought they could have slayed Goliath, but
absolutely.
And I thought, because I remember before this, everyone's saying, "Oh, United have got too much. They'll get through. They'll be fine. They'll get through. They'll beat Coventry." And I kept saying at times, "No, I think I'd love to see Coventry get through. I think they could cause an upset, And nobody was saying that. Nobody could believe that, did they? And yet you see what they've done against Wolves and everything, and you think, well, look, they can do it. They're capable of it, And United aren't the team they used to be all that time ago under Ferguson or whatever, whatever else, maybe Mourinho or whatever. So, they're not the same team anymore. Why wouldn't it be? Why would it be impossible for them to win it? So,
yeah, exactly. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go on, mate. No, go on, mate.
Yeah, because you were mentioning also on our stream about the 1990 FA Cup semi-final. Of course, the big subplot for this semi-final was that Mark Robbins was actually the guy who scored the extra time winner against Oldham Athletic in the semi-finals to take them through to the final. And of course, Liverpool actually played Crystal Palace, but lost 4-3 after extra time. I think they went 1-0 up. They went 2-1 down. Steve McMahon and John Barnes put them 3-2 ahead, but 2 minutes before the end of normal time, I believe it was Andrew Gray of Crystal Palace who tied everything up. And then future Crystal Palace manager Alan Pardew was the one who got the winner in extra time. So you love to see these games. And of course, when Oldham played United, they were in the second division, while back then it was the old first division. So, it was amazing. And obviously, this is a different Andy Gray, not the one who played for Scotland, but and then went on to become a commentator. This is a different one. But he did play for Aston Villa, but had most of his time at Crystal Palace and also played for QPR and Tottenham. But
I know the one you mean. Yeah, I know the one you're on about. Yeah.
Yeah, so these are the sort of matches, really, Steve, that lend so much intrigue to the competition, and it's all to play for. The smaller teams really provide a lot of the best entertainment. Now, I do get the point that maybe when it comes to a final, City would have been under Guardiola a slick and efficient team, and of course, we now have a second consecutive Manchester Derby final. We all know what happened in the previous one. Ilkay Gundogan scored in the first minute, and from there, we all know the story. But, Coventry really proved that they, in many ways, deserved to be in the semi-finals, and they should have. They could have gone on to the final. And your heart really broke for them and their fans and the players and the likes of Mark Robbins, who coached them quite brilliantly and helped them recover. The sad part is, I don't even know if Coventry will be able to recover from this to try and make a run for the playoffs in the championship. But at least they've shown now that they are more than capable of playing well, and maybe next season they can try and roll on. It's sad, really, though, because they were so close, they could taste it, and yet
Yeah.
penalties got in the way.
Yeah, that's right, mate. I've got a piece here that obviously I think it's Johnny Weeks has said about here for the game. Coventry's defeat was the most scintillating and sickening football experience of my life, by Johnny Weeks. I've seen plenty of setbacks down the years, enough to become desensitised. I thought, but then came an entirely new kind of trauma. Respect Coventry, please, respect Coventry, please, said Pep Guardiola on Saturday evening, when a presumptuous TV reporter asked Manchester City's manager about the prospect of another all-Manchester FA Cup final. He's right, though. Respect him. Definitely. It might not have been that. It might not have been all Manchester. Guardiola knew Coventry City would be no pushovers, and they weren't for Man United in Sunday's semi-final. Yet even he couldn't have envisaged how close they would drag Eric Ten Hag's side towards ruin in the most scintillating and sickening football experience of my life. I watched plenty of Coventry defeats down the years, enough to become desensitised to it, I thought. I cried at Villa Park when we were relegated from the Premier League in 2001. I watched from the press box with weary resignation as Doncaster consigned us to League One in 2012. And I experienced mixed emotions when Luton denied us a Premier League berth last May. But watching us lose to United at Wembley after a preposterous 3-goal comeback was an entirely new kind of trauma. Strangely, it was a dire first-half performance from Coventry, probably was, I would agree, in one in which we looked unnecessarily fearful of our opponents. It was only when Mark Robbins changed formation and brought on Victor Torp and Fabio Tavares, or Tavares, you should say, as you know about that, Mania Tavares. But that we began to realise United were fragile, even at 3-0 up. The first 2 goals from Ellis Sims and Callum O'Hare were celebrated in the upper tiers of Wembley, where I was sat with a mixture of pride and excitement. The third brought delirium. I even turned to my dad after Haji Wright's 95th minute penalty and declared, I don't care what happens next because this has already been unreal. Just see what was to come. Who was I kidding when Torp's goal in the final seconds of extra time was unexpectedly disallowed for the most fractional offside possible? I was bereft. There can be nothing crueler in football than believing for an entire minute that your side have completed arguably the greatest comeback in FA Cup history. Never mind qualifying for the final for the first time in 37 years, only for it to be looted from you. Yep. Coventry's players had been knee sliding across the Wembley turf. United's were comically strewn about the place, wilting from embarrassment. The juxtaposition was immaculate. Imagine the photographs and the headlines, I thought to myself. This felt like a cup final victory, a slice of sky blue footballing history, almost on a par with 1987. Yep. It was a moment to cherish with my dad and a goal to recreate in the back garden with my son for years to come. But like many other Coventry fans, I've forgotten all about VAR. Yeah, mercifully, we don't have it in the Championship. What a rancid concept it is. Yeah, exactly. I've now watched the replay of Torp's disallowed strike dozens of times, and although Wright looks fractionally offside in the freeze frame used by VAR, I doubt the officials in Stockley Park can accurately measure marginal offsides, nor can they tell precisely when the through ball left O'Hare's foot. Boot, I have long said that VAR sullies the game we love. Why must the offside law be imposed with such excruciating pedantry? And how have we allowed tortuous remote officiating to steal the purest element of football? Exactly, I agree with all this. Our celebrations, if it's not clearly offside, just let it go. Exactly. Perhaps I'm old, perhaps I'm bitter, but I'd sooner football matches were won and lost on the pitch without any lingering doubts. Delays or risk of revocation from afar And no, I wouldn't feel much differently if the boot were on the other foot. In the dying stages of Coventry's Championship playoff final defeat by Luton last May, the Hatters scored a winning goal which was unexpectedly ruled out for handball. The confusion and uncertainty we experienced in the stands while waiting for the VAR to determine our fate that day was arguably more ghastly than what's that one? Frankity Darbo's subsequent penalty miss in the shootout. And so to penalties again. I instinctively feared the worst from the moment we lost both coin tosses. One to determine which end the penalties would be taken at, and the other to decide who would go first, just as we had done against Luton. But there was still hope, still superstition to cling to. In recent weeks, one Coventry fan gained cult status for the size of his Friday night dinners after he ate a gargantuan sausage and chips before Coventry's epic win against Wolves in the quarter-final. A taxi was even dispatched from Coventry to Sheffield to deliver the exact same meal to him 2 days before the semi-final. Bigfoot would be our lucky charm in the shootout, wouldn't it? Alas, no, the magic of the cup was extinguished from 12 yards. Now I'm left with deep hurt and a mountain of respect for the Sky Blues. Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I really do. That was brilliant. Brilliant article, that. Superb. Yeah.
Yeah,
brilliant.
was that for a local Coventry-based newspaper, or what's the story?
Well, this was obviously I take he's obviously a Coventry fan, Johnny Weeks, journalist for the Guardian. Obviously, this is for the Guardian. So this was obviously what he watched the game, and he obviously put this wrote this in the paper. So yeah, that's what I believe anyway. So he's obviously a big Coventry fan. So obviously it was really gut wrenching for him. But you know, I still, you know, I feel for him, and I agree with a lot of what he said there. I really do. You know, and they did nearly do it, and I think VAR is a pain. I agree with that. It's not working either. So why have we still got it? It's not doing anything. You know, all the decisions lately, all that thing with Rashly Young, all those that should have been penalties. All three of those probably should have been penalties. Them decisions, and you know, VAR didn't allow them or intervene or say to the referee, go and check it, go and look at the monitor. You know, and they got away with it all. Because that was definitely 3 penalties. One was a handball. One he fouled. Who was the guy he fouled?
Gio Reyna.
Gio Reyna, yeah. And what was the other one? I'm trying to remember the other one now.
Hudson-Odoi.
Hudson-Odoi, that's it. You know, they should have all been penalties when you look at it. They all look like penalties, didn't they? And yet VAR didn't give them, or didn't say, go referee, go and have a look, you know. We're not totally sure. Go and have a look yourself, you know. And generally, when they do that, they always give a penalty, don't they? When they go and look at the monitor. So, yeah, I just think I just hate it, VAR. To be honest, I've had enough of it, and I'm with this guy about it. It's Johnny Weeks. I really do agree with him, but there you go. I think it might be scrapped. I really do. I mean, I think they're talking about bringing a different one in. Is it a 3D thing or something? Apparently. So let's hope that'll work out better. But VAR has been totally shit as well. I'm sorry for swearing, but it has been, and you know, I think it should be totally scrapped. I don't know about your opinion there, Manny. I don't know if you agree, but
yeah, look, the problem with scrapping VAR, Steve, as I've told you many times, is that do you really want to go back to how things were before VAR, when even worse decisions were made and upheld without the benefit of VAR to check and refute all of them. I think I keep saying it's not the technology that's the problem; it's the way people are applying it that's the absolute problem. And I will say this though, I really do. I'm not being patronising here, Steve. I sympathise with Mr. Weeks, and obviously, going through that scintillating and yet soul-destroying game, as he put it. I don't know if I used the correct words there, but going through that whole game, it would have been draining for him in many ways, more than one, as it was for the Coventry City fans and the players and the management and so forth. But you sometimes have to take a look at it and say that according to the letter of the law, it was an offside. Now, of course, there's always going to be a question as to whether or not Haji Wright was trying to gain an advantage. If he, and again, for some reason, there is no way of really trying to tell that. But then strikers will always say, "We weren't trying to gain an advantage, ref. We were just standing there." But you sometimes have to say that, for those fine margins, the correct decision was taken, and when the VAR is correctly used, you have to applaud that. If VAR is incorrectly used or not used when it needs to be used, then, as in the case of the Everton-Nottingham Forest game, where, as you said, Ashley Young had 3 charmed lives, and even then, I also mentioned on our stream, he had the gall to rub it into the Nottingham Forest players by, making a reference to a song called "Cry Me a River." Ashley, that was uncalled for, really, and you should have known better. But I keep saying that the best way to because as far as I'm concerned, VAR is here to stay, and when it has been used properly, it has provided just outcomes for everyone. When it hasn't been used properly, then then you can criticize the people who are responsible for using that and say that they did an awful job. And so there have to be reviews about all of these things. And I keep saying that every single year before the season begins, referees have got to get together and really talk a lot about the guidelines they want to adopt before the start of every season, and also make sure that the guidelines of VAR are also adopted and adhered to. But they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that because, as I said, they love the controversy too much. They know the controversy will sell, and that people are still going to keep watching every single week. Now, one of the reasons why I've decided not to watch the FA Cup final, and I will hold myself to that. I mean, hey, if I was able to stay off social media for Lent, there should be no problems with me not watching an FA Cup final. And normally, I would love the FA Cup final. I remember, watching 2 over the years. I think it was the Spurs Forest one in 19. I didn't watch that technically because I remember one of my biggest memories, and I think you can watch that on an interview with Warren for Warren's Team Talk, was that on the morning of the FA Cup final, I was playing football with my cousin who had come to visit us all the way from India. He was a physical education teacher and a pretty decent footballer in his youth. My dad also played football in medical school, and he was teaching me how that whenever you kick the ball, you shouldn't use your toe. You've always got to use what they call the instep. Put your laces through it, as they say. So I was standing in goal, and this bloke aims a kick at me. I stick my right hand to stop the ball from going in. Really good save, but it bashes me on my wrist, and I have a green stick fracture. It hurts like Billy-O. And I had to go to the hospital. And
was it really painful, man?
Quite painful, yeah. I mean, I was 10 years old at the time, and of course it hurt like Billy-O. I told you.
I bet,
And we didn't have time to go to the hospital almost immediately because we had to get ready and go out. I remember holding my having a wrist sort of around my arm, trying to I had a handkerchief, remember, around my wrist, really, because it felt anything to try to sort of take away the pain, and I couldn't even move it. And then obviously not long after we got back, we went to the hospital, had an X-ray, and then had it put in plaster. And for the best part of about 4 weeks or 3 or 4 weeks, I had to wear that cast, and I couldn't, use my right hand at all. It's just as well that
Yeah.
I'm left-handed, but still, no. When you're young,
Still,
you do not want to
yeah,
have a
yeah.
broken arm.
Mm.
So I've seen two FA. I've had the experience of two FA Cup finals, and obviously '92, I was able to watch it completely on grandstand. And for the record, we recorded the '91 final so I could come back and watch it in full. But we were listening to radio updates on our way to our friend's house, and we found out that Des Walker scored the winning goal, an own goal, under pressure
Yeah,
from Gary
remember
Mabbutt.
that, yeah.
But next year, obviously, it was Liverpool's turn. They played Sunderland, and it was Michael Thomas, in fact, who scored an absolute stunner of a goal, which beat Tony Norman, the Sunderland goalkeeper, and that pretty much set them on their way to a really good win. They beat them 2-0, if memory serves me right. And obviously, you have the build up to the cup final. You'll remember as well, Steve, if you're young and you enjoy watching Saturday morning TV.
I love watching it. Yeah.
So obviously, you'll remember that they had, both BBC and ITV, they had their Saturday morning shows, and they were also talking about the cup final. And on one occasion, they'd have all these little children, waving their scarves for their teams, and it would be kind of fun. And people talk about the build up to the FA Cup final and how, it's so special in that respect, and how a lot of that specialness has sort of been taken away. And it was Ian Rush actually who got the second goal in that game. Good old Rushy, Liverpool's greatest
he
ever.
was. What a striker,
So now, of course, everything's completely changed. It has become a little bit more commercialized in some respects. But when you have these smaller teams having runs like Coventry did, it really, really brings back the romance of the competition. And the smaller teams can know that 1 year, at any time, it could be them, and they can write their own stories. And so any attempt to try to stifle that, it's just going to be a kick in the teeth for the tournament. I think it's as much as it pains me to say this, I think there can be no complaints about the offside decision. And Coventry could have tried their best in penalties, but I think their collective, the pressure and the lack of experience really did for them in the end, which was tragic. And but what we can complain about is how the I'm grateful that you put that question out, because I do believe the magic of the cup will go. And we're speaking obviously as well, and you can agree that some of these smaller clubs love the replays. And so if the bigger clubs have to, end up getting a replay, having a replay against these smaller teams, then that's an indictment on them and their inability to, close out the deal. So it's the bigger clubs who have to pay that penalty, pun intended. And so the smaller clubs deserve all the credit they can get for, playing out of their skins and forcing a draw, or even better, getting a win. And I hear some people saying on Twitter that the replays being scrapped will be even better for, the smaller clubs, because it means that they will now be more determined to make sure that they get a win and play for a win. But that really is, as condescending as it can get, because these smaller clubs, many of them, Steve, take the FA Cup very seriously indeed. They love the prospect of playing on national television as and when they can. And playing against bigger teams really gets their juices flowing. And as in the case of Havant and Waterlooville, who in the 2000s traveled to Anfield and really gave Rafa Benitez's team a big run for their money. For them, they get the chance to write their own fairy tale, and they're in paradise for so many years. And it's a shot in the arm for them. And if you take that away, I get the point when people say there are too many games being played in the calendar, but that's sour grapes from the top teams, because if you want to be a top team and compete for all those trophies, you've got to either make sure you have a big enough squad to make sure that you are capable of doing all of competing and playing well. Or else, if you end up losing the way Arsenal did this season, or even Aston Villa did this season, losing in both the League Cup and the FA Cup, you've got to take it on the chin and move on. And Neil Humphreys, I love this. You want to read this? Go ahead.
Yeah, mate, definitely. Yeah, definitely going to read this. Mr. Guardiola yet again in the news. Stop whining, Pep Guardiola. There's no sympathy for fixture congestion after FA Cup replay scrapped. FA Cup changes are about ruthless finance, and the Manchester City manager should read the room before he alienates more fans. Exactly. But he doesn't. He just comes out and says it. Another Champions League defeat, another manic head rub, and Pep Guardiola soon slipped effortlessly into caricature. Yeah, there he was, the aristocrat, moaning about a lack of legroom on his lifeboat as the toffs rowed away from the Titanic. There are no violins small enough to do justice to the Manchester City manager's petulant whining about fixture congestion. After reaching yet another FA Cup final in the age of oligarchs and American hedge fund bros carving up the silverware between them. To recap, Guardiola is unhappy about his glittering squad, built entirely with internationals, treble winners and World Cup lifters. Had to soldier on from a midweek defeat against Real Madrid to overcome Chelsea in their private billionaires club. Rather tactlessly, he referred to the health of his players. More than once, he had no idea how his players survived such unacceptable and impossible circumstances. Well, that's what I've obviously said before earlier on. But yeah, considering current world events, these hysterical terms are not only tone deaf but irresponsible. Words matter. No, so does perspective. But Guardiola appears to have jettisoned the latter, rambling on about his health concerns for a squad talented enough to play a different starting 11 every week. A little humility goes a long way, particularly with a club still facing 115 charges of financial doping. Why on earth didn't anyone take Guardiola aside and gently suggest that highlighting the woes of the world's richest club will not play well in the same week that FA Cup replays were scrapped? A move that bolsters the haves and further weakens the have-nots. Exactly.
Yep.
At face value, there is logic to scrapping all FA Cup replays. Settle every contest in a single encounter and ease the fixture congestion. I think that mean.
He meant congestion, but that was poor editing. It's congestion.
Yeah, terrible. Those advocating for the changes are keen to point out that the whimsical giant killing scenario of a lower league club rarely happens. In the last 10 years, 1,080 ties were played from the first to the fourth rounds. There were 228 replays, but 135 of those were in the first two rounds. Only a small proportion happened after the third round, i.e. when the English Premier League clubs entered the fray. According to Alan Shearer, a League One club or below going to an EPL venue in a replay only happens 1.5 times a season. So scrap Singapore sweep then, eh? Get rid of anything with minuscule odds of success. Considering we're now in the business of eviscerating hope. Abandon all long shots, remove anything vaguely aspirational and focus only on binary statistics, easy for me to say, because that's what sport is all about, right? Just look at VAR and how much its intervention added to our enjoyment of the Manchester United Coventry City game. It's just facts, figures, and humanoid bores with rulers now. There's no space for daydreaming, no fantastical what ifs, no hope. Why pander to the unlikely prospect of a once-in-a-lifetime replay trip to Anfield? Yeah. For smaller clubs when it's much easier to remove the distant carrot in the first place. Football serves an exclusive group of masters and hopeless romantics are not among them. Even so, the romance of the FA Cup was never merely about David toppling Goliath. It was about the money, a chance for David to invest in something more than a catapult for next season. The idea that ruthless finance is crushing idealism is no less naive. The FA Cup allowed English football to at least maintain the pretense of trickle-down economics. Not anymore. I think there's a bit more here. Shall I carry on, Manny, or we?
Please. No, it's going to add to it. I want you to read it all, and I am listening. I'm all ears.
Right, elite clubs. Right, greedy elite clubs risk being disliked by alienated fans. The FA changes are about ruthless finance, just not the domestic, feel-good community kind. The UEFA Champions League will increase the number of matches next season because after yet another campaign where the group stages were as dull as dishwater, a comatose TV audience was clearly clamouring for more nocturnal dross. Yeah. The tournament will also swell from 32 to 36 clubs. Something had to give, and that something was small clubs with the smallest voices. The Premier League's elite have received further encouragement for their wealth expansion plans, while simultaneously being rewarded for their ineptitude. Had Manchester United's dreadful display against Coventry been replicated in an earlier round, the 8th place championship side would have merited another day in the sun and an injection of cash via a replay indeed. The very notion of a replay acknowledges the Corinthian spirit of fair play. The minnows get a second chance. Yep, not anymore. Of course, the facile argument doing the rounds now is that teams like Coventry also play in long, debilitating campaigns, 46 games a season. And the new changes spare them additional fixtures too. Because cash-strapped clubs at the bottom of the pyramid are always looking for ways to cut off additional revenue streams, eh? Here's a novel idea. How about a new FA Cup handicapping system, where an EPL team that fails to defeat an opponent from a lower division in 90 minutes automatically gets knocked out? At a stroke, replays are gone. Fixtures are reduced. The health and well-being of those fragile billion-dollar squads will be protected, and anyone else might witness a spectacle more aesthetically pleasing than the tepid fare offered by the Red Devils. Could that work? Of course not, because those advocating for a reduced fixture list would be the first to complain if the fixture list was not weighed in their favour, because the same complaints now will say nothing when they embark upon their hectic pre-season programmes across the globe, because the same folks petitioning against the European Super League are strangely muted when it comes to protesting the English Super League that already exists. A self-serving cabal using its financial might to shape the schedule in its favour. Because Roy Keane was right yesterday, he said he was beginning to dislike Manchester United for their lack of character on the pitch. But his comments were perceptive on a broader level. Elite clubs also risk being disliked. They continue to pursue such a selfish agenda whilst bleating the moment something doesn't go entirely their way. Disillusioned fans in the UK are already expressing their indifference to a competition that increasingly favours the few, and cynicism is generally contagious. In the Premier League's elite clubs are determined to win the hearts, minds and wallets of their global audience and show a smidgen of solidarity, if not empathy, for those at the bottom of the food chain, fighting for ever-shrinking scraps. And for God's sake, Guardiola, read the room. Yep. Exactly. Read the room. Yeah.
Mr. Humphreys,
a lot of reading
well
there.
Done, sir. Well done, sir. I mean, you read that article very well indeed, Steve. And
Cheers,
all I
man.
can say, if I could meet Mr. Humphreys in person, I would definitely, want to shake his hand. Nailed it brilliantly. And the biggest issue that I have is a large number of people who cynics themselves might look at us and say, well, we're being a bunch of hypocrites ourselves because not in the maybe not necessarily in your case, Steve, but you
Yeah.
know, I support a bigger team, obviously, but I'm not that type of person who would obviously be willing to, say that my team can do no wrong no matter what. Far from it. If anything, I'm also going to be one of those people who will call my own team out if they're indulging in such tomfoolery. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
absolutely, it's as if it's the rich. It's like the rich who are complaining that there's not enough. It's like they're complaining that they're not getting enough caviar for their buffet, while there are so
Yeah.
many other people who can't even afford to go down to the chippy and buy some fish and chips. I remember reading, watching a video about one of Britain's poorest towns, and there is this chip shop that provides, free dinners for a lot of people in that locality. It shouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily have
Oh,
to
nice.
be that way, but
Mm.
you know, especially with forgive me for being political, but especially with the whole Brexit thing, we're seeing
Yeah.
the inequality gap being widened, and it's also happening
Mm.
now in football. It's really disgusting, and it is insensitive. And for Guardiola and others to say what they've said, it is really, really shameful. And what hurts me and a lot of people is that City were once upon a time one of those clubs that you know, they were big, but not too big. They were never too big
Yeah.
to,
Too big for their
you know,
boots.
yeah, they were never too big to be willing to, enjoy being a part of, as equal a part of the football league structure as some of the other teams lower down the pyramid.
Mm.
Now, of course, with the money coming in and expectations being a lot higher, things have changed, and it's really sad to see. But the only way that things can change, Mr. B, is if people decide to vote with their wallets, as it were, and
Yeah.
avoid going to the FA Cup final, or else avoid watching it. In fact, maybe a show of goodwill from Manchester United would be to, you know, I don't know. Maybe they could offer them a percentage of their winnings from the FA Cup. And I do like Mr. Humphreys' idea of, you know, an immediate elimination for the bigger teams that fail to beat the teams that are a
Yeah.
division below them. Although, again, there will be some other ramifications and caveats there, so that might open up another can of worms. But one idea which I have is that we change the draw and make sure that if
Mm.
there is a situation where a lower division team or a non-league team is drawn against an EPL team, then even if the draw dictates that the smaller team hosts the tie, the venue should be the EPL team's venue, because that happened in 2001 when Arsenal played Farnborough. We were supposed to go to the IMETA Stadium, which had a capacity of barely over 4,000 people, to have that tie being played. And Sky Sports, for their part, were only willing to offer coverage of that match if it were being held at that stadium. But the people involved, I think the people at Farnborough and Arsenal, came to the conclusion that security measures would dictate that that simply wasn't possible. So there was, and I will allow you to read this article, Steve, but let me just finish what I want to say. So there was a
Yeah. Yeah.
decision
Yeah.
mutually taken
Go on, man.
by the clubs to have the home tie being played at Highbury, and that was before we moved from Highbury to the Emirates Stadium. And everyone had a good day out of it. Farnborough had their home tie at a bigger ground. They got a great share of ticketing revenue. Their fans had a good day out. Yeah, they got swamped 5-1, but they did score a goal, and everyone was happy. And the big issue that I have, of course, is that whenever you get the opportunity to play in a away day at a bigger ground, obviously you get some revenue, some TV revenue, and so forth. And that's why it is a shot in the arm for the smaller teams. So if you want to scrap replays, make sure you have the home ties automatically being played at the bigger team's ground, and that solves the problem for everyone, I'd like to think.
Yeah. Well, I liked it when they used to have them at was it Villa Park and Old Trafford, the FA Cup
Yeah.
semi-finals.
Yep.
You know, why was that scrapped? Why did they take that away and move it to Wembley? Because, you know, for a start, the incentive has gone for the smaller clubs that get to Wembley. They've already got to Wembley in a semi-final. Apart from Coventry yesterday, who looked determined to try and get there again. But not every team does that. They said, oh, we're at Wembley. We've done it. We've already got to Wembley. We're at Wembley now. Why bother trying to get there again? You know, for the final. We're already here. We our dreams come true. We played at Wembley, you know. It takes that away. When they've done that decision, it already took it away from the smaller clubs doing all that.
I agree completely. And further to that point, we could have had a situation where, you know, some of the, you know, clubs whose stadia aren't being used could have been used for those replays. Yeah. But I think the problem is, Steve, scheduling, because let's not forget that in addition to the two semi-finals, we had some Premier League fixtures, and so we literally had situations where, you know, I think we had 7 Premier League games and two FA Cup semi-finals, so we had 17 teams playing. So actually, you know what? There could have been some stadiums that could have been used, in my opinion. Certainly Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, or I can't think of another one.
Gets used for everything else, doesn't it? Music concerts and everything there, so just as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Just as well played in there.
And of course, when Manchester United had their semi-final against Oldham in 1990, they played at Main Road. So not that Manchester Stadium, but a different one. So maybe not exactly neutral in that sense of the word, but it worked nonetheless. But again, it's all about scheduling. But apparently, Mr. Shearer, who never was able to win an FA Cup, has a solution. Let's see what he says.
Yeah, it's another interesting article here, Manny. Alan Shearer slams FA for dreadful communication over scrapping FA Cup replays as he offers solution to help lower league sides. English football has been left in uproar after FA Cup replays were scrapped. Alan Shearer becomes the latest to question the decision and offer an alternative. Ian Ladyman and Chris Sutton have had their say on the Premier League's Player of the Year. But that's obviously something else, so I won't bother with that. Anyway, Alan Shearer has slammed the FA for their dreadful communication over the decision to scrap FA Cup replays. English football is in uproar after the FA and Premier League struck a deal to scrap FA Cup replays due to the expansion of the European competitions from next season. The change will take effect from next season and comes in light of calendar changes forced by UEFA expanding European competitions. Clubs down the football pyramid have expressed their frustration at the news, and now Shearer has offered his own take on this matter. During the BBC's half-time coverage of the Man City versus Chelsea, Shearer said, I understand it from the side of the Premier League clubs, particularly the ones that are playing in Europe. And I absolutely understand it from the lower league teams. There we go. You're in a really difficult situation because of the expansion of the UEFA dates. They've gone from 6 weeks to 10, and then third and fourth round replays. Those replayed dates, they're going to be European dates on. So that necessarily means the teams that are playing in Europe couldn't play on those dates and couldn't make that. I think the lack of communication from the FA has been dreadful. For them to put out a statement, out the following day to say they will then talk to the clubs in terms of how they will make up the finances. That has been really poor. I would look at something along the lines of scrapping extra time and going straight to penalties. So the lower league also team has the reasonable chance of going through and getting a better draw in the next. Not necessarily. And also to look at the same money for every club, whatever round you're in, whether you're televised or not. I think that would be a more sensible way to look at it. Richard said, I agree with that, Alan, especially on the money side. But it's about the fans going to the big grounds as well. Yeah, everybody thinks it's about the money, but it's the experience. Exactly. I agree with Micah there. Shearer then replied, I get that, but there's only been 8 times in the last 5 years where a League One club or below has gone to a Premier League ground in a replay. On average, 1.5 times a season, and that happens. Mail Sport revealed that furious lower league clubs have raised the prospect of boycotting the FA Cup after the controversial move by the Premier League and FA. Owners and fans of many sides outside the top flight have been left outraged by the move, which they say will hit them in the pocket and was made without them being consulted. Oh dear. Right. So that's about it there. What do you make of Mr. Shearer there? What he's saying about?
Well, I mean, obviously, Alan was talking about, the stat that the chances of lower league teams earning replays of the bigger teams are few and far between, which is why my idea of having the tie automatically being played at the bigger team's ground will work for everyone, because at least that way you, even if you don't get the replay, the lower league team gets the chance of having the bigger day out. And then, of course, you make sure you generously remunerate the smaller teams as a reward for getting that far. I'm also sick to my stomach, Steve, of hearing some people saying, as I think I might have said this earlier, but, it just means that the smaller clubs are going to have to, work really harder to win. And that is really the worst case of telling people to build themselves up by their bootstraps. It's as if you can't tell people to build themselves up by their bootstraps and then cut their bootstraps short every single time, a little bit every year, or even worse, take it away from them. It's ridiculous and it's arrogant. And it has the hallmarks of, the worst type of Thatcherite attitude where, those who make it to the top deserve to stay in the top. Let the other ones drown. Let them eat cake, as Marie Antoinette famously said. And it is becoming a little bit more capitalistic. And football used to be very much a working man's sport. And it's all because Europe have decided to revamp their particular tournament, obviously adding the Conference League to primarily give to teams from other faraway countries a chance. That's added more and more games to the calendar. It certainly added a lot more games to Aston Villa's calendar. And you can see that despite not having a big squad themselves due to their own profit and sustainability related constraints, they've done a brilliant job of staying in Champions League contention. They've done really well to make the semi-finals, although I think they will have sights on winning it. Not for them are you going to tell them that they've got bigger fish to fry if they don't qualify from the semi-finals. No, they want a trophy, and they've got players in the team who want that trophy. Emi Martinez is one of their biggest cheerleaders. I'm sorry I keep coming back to him, but it's to emphasize that point. And so in the process, they've suffered defeats in the League Cup. I think they lost to Everton in the first available round. In the FA Cup, they had a replay against Chelsea. They had a good draw at Stamford Bridge, but at Villa Park, I think Chelsea just proved themselves to be the better team and beat them, handily. But 2 out of 4 is not so bad. But if you want to be big enough to challenge for more trophies, you've got to make sure that you have a bigger squad and the financial wherewithal to make it happen. And all of this stuff is just a part of it more than anything else. But it's a case of, the rich not wanting to suffer a little bit of discomfort so that the poor people can have a little bit more. Because, nobody, if you're people who are rich will not want to see there being too much more room at the top. It's not they don't want to spread the wealth, as it were.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying there, Manny, and I agree totally. I mean, I've got another sort of suggestion to make where to play the games rather than Wembley. I would say play them at lower grounds, grounds in the lower divisions. Why not? You know, that also gives them some revenue and some money. These lower teams, you know, smaller teams, say like, who can we say in the lower? What about, could you even play one, say at Wrexham, something like that? Or, but then I know they've got a lot more money now. We like Ryan Reynolds and that, putting money into there and everything. But I was trying to think of real lower teams. Say the likes of who's got a really big Forest Green, something like that, or you know, they've got these really nice stadiums, and you know, I just thought it sort of gives them a bit more money as well. You know, injecting more money into them.
It could, Steve, but the problem is, you know, again, that will only be seen as a means of rewarding the smaller clubs who can have the money to have the bigger stadia. And if you are a smaller club and you can't quite get a bigger stadium, then, you know, you can't have the game over there. And that was the issue, the exact issue, of course, which prompted the switching of venues between Farnborough and Arsenal. So in theory, it might sound good, but again, you also have to make sure you mix up the venues every year to make sure that more and more venues get a slice of that.
Well,
and
England
also,
play some of their games there. I think, is it the England under-21s and whatever, play a lot of lower teams, stadiums?
I believe so. I believe so. But
like
that's
Sunderland and whatever.
I do believe so, but the problem is those games don't get anywhere near the crowds you'd get for a senior game in the FA Cup or the Premier League or even Europe or wherever else. So that's going to be a bit of a problem. The most important thing here is that whatever proposal people decide to come up with, it has to be something that will provide a tangible revenue stream for some of the smaller clubs. Because I'll tell you what, it's really disheartening to see the likes of Havant, Waterlooville, and others having to fold because, simply put, the finances are just not coming through.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, a ruling like this, a decision like this will really hurt them even further. And that's not what we want to see. So there has to be a tangible way by which they can be provided some revenue. And the 33 million quid that the FA are proposing is literally, you know, a drop in the bucket compared to how much they could potentially lose by not having these replays. Let's also not, I mean, the TV revenue, the ticketing revenue, and so forth. Not to mention the exposure that they're granted. I mean, not many people knew of Havant and Waterlooville before they came to Liverpool, and then after that match, you know, nobody would ever forget them. And so, you know, for those teams, those particular days are red letter days in their history.
And you got lots of remember teams like Sutton and all that, the Giant Killers, you know. You know what it was like for them, you know. Absolutely. And this for me, you know, I'm going to obviously wade into this a bit now because, you know, for the likes of us, you know, we're a Premiership team now, right? But we're still a small club, right? This is going to affect us as well. Because, you know, if if we wanted a replay to go to like the Emirates, right, in a replay, you know, we're denied that now. We won't get that. And you know, you know, we make a hard-earned draw, somehow get a draw with you lot and take you back to the Emirates. We can't do that now, or say we do that at the Emirates, we want to bring it back to the GTEC. It can't happen now. You know, and it, you know, it really does affect the small teams. And I agree with Michael Richards there. It's about the experience as well. You know, it is about the experience for these lower teams going to play at these big clubs, big grounds. You know, and you know, I totally agree with that because you know, I think it is wrong. You know, the Magic is going to go. The Magic will go now from the FA Cup. That's what it was all about the smaller teams going to play the big teams at their grounds and making money and upsetting the apple cart, you know. But now it won't happen anymore, Manny, and it's sad. I think it really is sad now.
Exactly. I think there was talk about some sort of a tax being imposed in lieu of the financial charges on the bigger clubs. Maybe, I mean, I like the idea of a tax system, but that's also going to be something really complex. I don't know if we'll have time to talk about that. If some of the money can be that money can be reinvested in the smaller teams. The smaller teams, Steve, I think you and I can both agree, they need tangible revenue. They need all the financial support they can get, and because it's really the grassroots that keep the game alive. Because there's no fruit without a root.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, I've got this other thing up because obviously I won't be on here much longer now, Manny. We've nearly done 2 hours or so now. It's quite a while. So obviously want to get on and get something to eat and stuff as well. But obviously we will go into this last bit here. It says Fair Game launches bid to protect FA Cup replay. So there could be a solution here to stop it happening. Let's hope. Fair Game, a group which represents a number of professional clubs, has launched a bid to stop FA Cup replays being scrapped. The group, which campaigns to improve football governance, has proposed an amendment to the upcoming football governance bill. That would mean replays would not be scrapped without consultation with all eligible clubs and a majority vote. Last week, replays were scrapped from the first round onwards on the 24-25 season as a result of the expansion of European competitions next season and the resulting pressure on the football calendar. The move was widely criticised, with more than 100 clubs sharing statements voicing their position against the move. League Two side Tranmere said it showed a total lack of respect, while Peterborough chairman Dara McAntony warned it would lead to a fallout within English football. Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham and Niall Cooper, the chief executive for Fair Game, has sent a joint letter to Culture Security Lucy Fraser and her shadow Fangam Debonair, which reads, "We know that many clubs in the lower leagues are battling to survive, and these changes, if they were to proceed, would make that struggle even harder. Events of this season have led to rising concern among supporters at all levels that football authorities are running the game in the interest of the few and not the many." Yeah. Similar to the implementation of profit and sustainability rules in the Premier League, these changes raise concerns about a lack of transparency, consistency and fairness on the part of the football authorities. If the new regulator is to be effective, it must be given powers to act to secure the health of the whole football pyramid. The Football Association insisted all parties accepted the change. However, the EFL urged the FA to re-evaluate their approach, stating there was no agreement prior to the deal being announced and no formal consultation. Cooper added that the move was short-sighted and misguided, and that elite clubs protecting their own narrow self-interest. He added the move is yet another example why football needs a strong and independent regulator that can ensure the financial future of our game. Fair Games Amendment would cover other competitions, and if the changes were to change revenue distribution, then it would require approval by the independent regulator. The Football Governance Bill, which would introduce such a regulator, is having its second reading on Tuesday, and will go through a parliamentary process before it's made law. Yeah. So what do you think of that then, Manny?
Just goes to show that when people get involved and politicians who represent them also get involved, there can be some hope for change. And I'm really grateful for Burnham and Cooper and what they did, they've done for this. And if this hopefully will prompt some intervention in some cases. Maybe the government can also decide, you know what, we can't let our beautiful game be affected in this particular way. The only problem is, as you and I both know very well, the Tories really have a lot more capitalistic tendencies than desired in any way.
Yeah.
But so at least there is some hope now, and I think we will start to wrap up. And I will say this: the biggest hope for change for the better when it comes to the things we love in our country and what really makes our society what they are, is if people decide that they want to stand up and make sure that they can make a change. And if they decide to make their voices heard and say, you know what, this is really out of order, we can't let this happen, then maybe people will listen. Now, bear in mind, I'm not suggesting for one moment that protests should turn violent. I remember, for example, the Manchester United protests, which ended up devolving into a group of absolute miscreants walking into the Old Trafford Stadium, throwing flares here and there. We don't even know that people weren't there, and maybe some people could have been injured. We don't know.
Terrible, yeah.
But if you protest peacefully and meaningfully and make sure that you are not happy about something, then things can happen. We sadly now, of course, see a government that's only too willing to crack down on some modes of protest. But at the end of the day, history tells us, Steve, that, in a true democracy, the people will always rule and the people will always have the final say. And all we can do is for hope and history to rhyme, as Seamus Heaney would say.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's hope they can stop it happening, because I would love to see these replays carry on. I know there is a lot of obviously fixture congestion. I get all that and whatever, but it's the magic of the FA Cup. It's been going on so many years. Is it the oldest? I don't think it is. Is this the oldest cup? I can't remember now. Is it the League Cup?
I think the FA Cup is the oldest. The League Cup came afterwards.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And why keep changing things with it all? It doesn't seem right. I mean, everything gets changed, and things. Why change things that don't need to be changed? At the end of the day, if it's broke, why try and if it's not broke, why try and fix it? It don't seem right. But the laws always seem to, people that make the law and whatever always seem to come down on it, lay down on it, and change everything. So I hate it, but it looks like it's going to happen. So unless they can change this with that what they're saying there, the appeal goes through or whatever it is with it, and everything's successful, we'll get back to having the replays again. So we've got till next year now. Obviously, it's not till next year, early next year. So it's a long way to go. Hopefully, everything will not change with it. So as I say, I think it's the smaller clubs that will pay. As I say, it's a kick in the guts for them. So, like ourselves, we are still a smaller team, even though we're in the Premier. We're still a small team. And the likes of others like Luton, of course, as well, and the others, Burnley maybe now, and obviously the ones in the lower leagues now, Championship, whatever, League One, some of them League Two. So it's not good, but obviously we're going to move on, and but that was great conversation again there, Manny. I enjoyed it. Good discussion again. Shame we couldn't get anyone else to come on. I did put the link in there, and obviously we had people in the live chat. So that was good. We did have people there. So
yeah, well, we should get people watching on playback as well. But I do hope that we didn't have anything more to discuss, because if we did and we weren't able to do that, I'm really sorry about it.
No, it's fine, mate. This was pretty much all, really. I wasn't actually really going to do a really long conversation. It wasn't going to go like 2 hours or so, debate, but looks like we nearly are there. But
yeah, and I think it probably would have been futile to discuss the weekend action. But all I can say is, you won, Arsenal won, Villa won, and Liverpool won. So yeah, things are just going on. The race is still there, and we can save that for maybe another stream some other time, maybe.
I will just say something about the London Marathon. Obviously happened over the weekend, and
Yes.
Congratulations to the people that ran in that, raising loads of money for people, many charities and stuff, and worked all the fun runners, and obviously all the professional runners, of course, as well, genuine sort of professional runners. Although they don't do it, I don't know if they do it to raise money, but obviously, it's good. They train for this all year, this sort of thing, and it's great for them. I've only ever done half marathons. I've never run in that London Marathon. I'd like to one day if I can get fitter, a lot fitter, I'll do it. So I'll definitely run in it. It's brilliant. I know people that have done it, so they've loved the experience of running the London Marathon, always have. So, yeah, but it was great. I don't know if you watched much of it, Manny. I watched some of it in the end, and really, really good again.
I couldn't see it. I mean, it might have been screened, but I don't think I would have had the time to watch it. I was also out most of the day. So, but yeah, it was a wonderful experience. And also big up to this boy with Down syndrome who ran the marathon as well. Great effort from him. And obviously, fellow YouTuber, Charlene Smith, regular on the AFTV circuit at DR Sports. She also ran the marathon and raised money for for cancer research.
Yeah, good on her. Yeah, good on her.
Yeah, so
brilliant.
So it's wonderful.
Great stuff,
it really is.
Them. Brilliant. And anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you have or watching on replay or whatever, we'll just go through your stuff, where you're going to be, Manny, where we can find you. Let's go through all that, man.
Yeah, well, first of all, big up to you, Mr. B, for having me on. You can find me on your cricket stream, definitely. I mean, every time you have a cricket stream, you call, I come running. And it's good to be coming here more. And it's good to be coming on the Hiver Football Debate chat as well. Haven't been on for quite a few streams because my schedule has dictated I couldn't make it, but I am here now a lot more regularly. I will try to come on as often as I can. I will, of course, keep you informed. I'm not going to, promise you I'd be there and then just say, sorry, I can't make it at the last moment. Big up as well to Coach's Corner. I think we might be doing a watch along for the Arsenal-Chelsea game tonight. That is, of course, his decision to make if he wants to do one. Also, big up to Oris Talks Football. We had the preview stream yesterday, and
that's right. It was good though.
Also Del Boy Gunner TV, as Kyle Walsh has mentioned. We could be doing a call-in show tonight, depending on how he feels after the game. And whenever he does a show or a video, I'm more often than not there with him. Big up as well to Rich Sports, who was in the chat. Also Football United TV with Anthony Herbert. Big up as well to Up the Cherries in all departments. My good mate Craig Beasley and I will do the videos on Thursday, and they get released on Friday for the cherry picking show. A bit of a St. Greavesy style back and forth, which
brilliant.
I mean, Steve, you remember that show? That was brilliant.
I loved that. Greavesy. Yeah, I remember that laughing. It's a funny old game.
Yep. Lord rest both of their souls. Two fine people indeed. Also, Spurs U Asia TV, AFC Talk Show TV, and also big up to True Gooner. I think Josh is his name, right? Because you and I were on the stream with him. I think I remember that. And is there anyone else that I might have forgotten? Can't really think of any at the moment. I mean, I've got some people who, also NS Sports TV was on his show last night doing a preview for tonight's game. And of course, there will be some more channels that I have been a part of. I can't remember them right now because I am a little bit tired. I've got some stuff to do, but I do love them, and if they don't believe me, as always, I'll send them a check in the post. And nothing much else to say except always make sure that whenever you come on these streams, you treat your co-participants the way you'd like to be treated. Allow them to say what they want to say. Do not interrupt them. Do not engage in any kind of disrespectful behavior. No snide, no condescension or anything of that sort, because we all love this game a great deal and we all have a right to express our opinions. And more importantly, if we can't agree to disagree without being disagreeable, there's no point in having a discussion. So let's be cordial, be courteous, be generous, and let's let everything be harmonious. And I hope you will enjoy the rest of your week, enjoy the sport on offer, and don't do anything that Steve and I wouldn't do. But as always, it's goodbye and God bless and farewell to all of you. I'm out.
Yeah. 100% there, buddy. 100% as usual. Always right with that. But yeah, so obviously I've got other stuff coming up. I've got to sort out the cricket at some stage, the cricket thing, watch along or something or other. Obviously, I know the ladies are coming up soon with their game against Pakistan. I know that's coming up, that series, at some stage soon, I think next month. So, got to sort something out with that. And obviously for the county thing with Middlesex, I want to sort something out there, get a watch along for that maybe. Do you know when they're playing again, Manny? I can't remember now, Middlesex. Do you know when their next game is?
I think they're playing the county championship now, so everything's going to be a sort of a 3 to 5 day affair. I'll have to find out their schedule and tell you. This is why it's always good to have, Google at your fingertips.
Exactly.
Just type in Middlesex County Cricket Club, and then you'll find out the schedule. I do believe their next game will be on the 26th of April. They will be travelling all the way to Gloucestershire, and coverage of that will be starting at, I want to say, 11 a.m. UK time. Yeah. So that should be really.
It might be on Sky. I don't know. It might be.
It may be. I mean, Sky should have coverage of the county championship, and of course now they're jostling with TNT for the international rights for several games. So at least the county circuit is getting more than its share of revenue. So can't complain.
No, true. But yeah, I'll definitely try and watch that. I doubt if I can do a watch along for that one, but it'll be too early maybe. But I don't know. I'll look into a few things about doing that. Maybe I know you don't like RPL, but I might do some for that.
Yeah, I do watch a few occasional games, but that's because whenever I go to my gym, they always show the match being played today. Go figure.
Oh, right.
I see the first innings, and then by the time the first innings ends, the gym closes, so I come back home. But I don't really watch the second innings, no.
I think the Royals won again, didn't they? I'm sure they won, didn't they?
They creamed Mumbai, only losing one wicket.
Yeah, I only saw some of that game. I've got to try and watch the rest of it. I'll bring that back, I think, and check that out and, watch all that. It's another great win for us. They're all Royals, wasn't it? So, brilliant. Yep. Did Butler and all that play, I think, didn't he? Did he play?
Yeah, Butler did play. He was an impact sub, and he scored 35 off 25 before being bowled by Piyush Chawla But then Jaiswal got a century, and Samson showed his strength and supported him. And,
he cut his hair off, wouldn't it?
He's already got short hair, If he were to shave his head, it would be disastrous.
Yeah, true. But yeah, no, it's brilliant, mate. And I've got to watch a lot more of them. And I know what you're saying. Sometimes it favours maybe the batsman too much, that competition. But it's still exciting. I think. I still think there's a lot of good matches. Sometimes the bowlers come into their own and sometimes can do things. So can't say it's all just one going towards one particular thing towards a batsman. So, but there you go. I still enjoy it. So still watch it occasionally. I don't watch it all the time because it's like it's like 2 games a day, isn't it? So, I can watch sometimes watch the earlier one and not the later one, but no, it's all good. It's all good. And as I say, everyone, please keep following me down here on Mr. B for Life 182 on Insta, and please smash the likes and sub if you're new. So obviously I'm still on 104. Why I'm not going up, the subs aren't going up, I don't know. They were going up, skyrocketing at one stage, and now it's just suddenly stood still. If anything, I lost 2 or 3 as it was, so I had about 106 at one stage. So I don't know what's going on there, but there you go. But hopefully they will go up again. You know, I'm trying to get a lot of content out. I try and do a good job with everything I do, and hopefully everyone will like it. But you know, if there are critics out there that don't like it, it's up to them. But there you go. Anyway, so we move on, and obviously I will be doing other things. We'll be bringing got the next one for Everton. Got a preview for that. That'll be probably Thursday or Friday. I've still got to get hold of Rose to see if she's going to come on. You know, Everton Rose. So she might do. If not, I'll try and do it myself anyway. Unless you feel like coming on and talking about it, Manny, you're welcome to. But you know, it should be a good one to discuss what they're going to do, Everton, and what team they're going to play. So, you know, I think we should beat them still. I really do feel that's another 3-pointer for us. I know they got a good win the other day, but, you know, I still think we're a different proposition for them because we're on form now. We've got confidence now. 6 unbeaten and not 5 in against Luton. So, you know, we're on a bit of a confidence run at the moment. So, yeah. But anyway, I'll do a preview for that, and I'll see if I can get her. If not, maybe you can come on, Manny, or I might try and get someone else. But
I'll let you know,
also,
Steve.
yeah, cheers, man. Yeah, it'd be great. But as I say, there's plenty of other stuff coming up. So. Obviously, review for all that. I might be going on other streams, of course, maybe on Oris and so forth. Hanno, if he does one, cricket or whatever. So I'll be going on there. But anyway, guys, that's been great, and thanks for everyone that's tuned in, and everyone in here to Manny once again, my friend. Thanks for coming on, bro. That's been brilliant. Thank you, and we are out of here. Goodbye. Goodbye.